So, let me tell you about my first social worker job that I did not like. My name is Felicia Cameron. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and yes, today, this month, and we're celebrating Social Work Month. And I've been practicing, been a licensed social worker for 23 years. Currently, I am an LCSW. Let me tell you about the first social worker job that I did not like, but it gave me experience. My first social work job was working with CPS, that's Child Protective Service. And during that time, CPS, we had to do, if you was hard, you had to do everything. Meaning you did the investigations, you did the intake, you did foster care, you did it everything. And while I was very grateful for the opportunity to get this job, once I was hired, it took a long time to actually get on. And no fault of the person who hired me, but it was the system, just working with getting hired with the state at the time. It just took a long process. And I remember when I got hired, I was given the option, hey, you can work for this county or this county. And one of the counties that they mentioned for me to work at, I just know there's no way I can work for that county. This is my first job. I don't want to work for CPS because every time when I was young, when I hear about Child Protective Service, it's always them social workers taking people kids. And guess what? I did not want to be that social worker taking somebody kids. But after getting out of school and graduating, CPS, Child Protective Service, gave me an opportunity. It gave me experience. So they was the one that opened the door to give me an opportunity to gain my social work experience. So I decided, no, I'm not choosing this particular county because back then that particular county was very high in crime and still is high in crime. And I'm like, okay, this is all new to me. I don't know nothing about this other county, but I will choose that other county. So I remember my first day or first week working. I'm just getting there. Remember sitting there and I just got a big old binder, a book, and I supposed to read over the binder to know about all these policies. And I just remember sitting there reading over this book and all these policies. And I don't know shortly after how long I was doing that for, probably a week or so, and getting a chance to go out with other workers, observe them, to go out with them. The county where I was at, they didn't have that many social workers, and at that time they were very overworked. Probably still is overworked. I don't know if that county or not. And I remember getting there, and I said, not even a week later, a month later, one of the social workers left. And so here me, just not too long get out of school, getting my license. First social work job, the social work job that I didn't want, I had received, inherited over 100 cases. Yes, over 100 cases. That before all the lawsuit came out about, how to work ethics and people working having a lot of cases. Yes, I inherited all those cases. And it was a challenge. It was a hard challenge within myself. Like I said, this is the first job that gave me the experience, and I'm very grateful that for that opportunity. But I did not like going to people's houses. I know I'm here for the serve a purpose to really help kids out, but I didn't want to be associated with the person taking people kids away, even though many times that service is needed. To remove the child into a safe environment and to work with the parents to see if they are able to work, do the things they need to do to get the kids back in the home. If not, to get them back in a foster home, and those kids that was in foster care for a while to age out, and just to be that social worker, keeping track of the foster kids, making sure you visit with them, doing those visits, you know, working with CPS and the county that I was working at, Yeah, I encounter a lot. I've seen a lot. Um, Pull and stretch a lot. Many times when you going into someone on private space, there is a time where, first of all, you're going there for a job, but then your safety is always on your mind. They teach you different things about safety, but just the idea your safety is always on your mind. And then not knowing what you're going to see, what you're going to experience, hearing the stories, uh, reports coming out. It can be very stressful. It can be heartbreaking, but it also can be rewarding to know that you have done something that voice of that child was heard, and you got them to the help that they need. And whether they realize they need it or not, but their voice was heard. Somebody recognized them. Someone got them out of that situation. And so many times, there have been times where kids, as they age out and they become older, they want to return back because they're still their family. And so, you have that going on, kids in foster care, or, knowing that they in different, have to move around between different foster care. That was very challenging. Um, and just working with people who got in a position that they lost their children to CPS. um, and or knowing when you come to do investigation, everybody, oh, that's the CPS worker, so everybody just kind of spreading the word. Hey, someone, you pulling up in a neighborhood or apartment complex, and you get the looks, and it's a feeling. Why it was my first social work job, I never wanted to work there, but I am very grateful for my first social work job with CPS, Child Protective Service. Again, they gave me an opportunity and gave me the work experience. And I stayed there. I think I stayed there for about a year. I think so, about a year, until I move on to other opportunities that are much closer to my home, because the county where I was working at, I was not living in that county. So I did a lot of travel, a lot of travel. Um, Being that we also did everything with foster care with kids as well, and going to court. I forgot to mention that, going to court. So I understand now that they have so far broken things up in different departments. Like you may have the investigation department, the foster care department. But back then, I remember we did it everything. And again, I just want to just share with you, that was my first social work job. Sometimes when you are in your, just a little note, you're trying to get familiar with the career you want to get into. Sometimes you will have to go across paths you did not want to go through. And while that first social work job could have changed my plans, or should I continue social work, I'm glad it didn't. So hang on. I'm going to share my next video. I'm going to share one of my most challenging social work job that I had. But also, it was a very rewarding job that I enjoyed, but it was a very challenging job. And so I'll talk to you next time. This is Felicia Cameron with Lynn in My Hand. And I just want to just share information about social work month and me being a social worker. Okay.